Hello everybody, I'm Mike Quaranta and I'm president of the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. And welcome to our Delaware Decides Candidate Forum. We're coming to you today from the studio of our member, DETV, and we are grateful to Ivan Thomas and his team for hosting us. Today, we'll ask 4 candidates for governor a series of business-oriented questions. Each candidate has received the topics for our session today, but not the specific questions. I'll ask each candidate the same questions in the same order and give them the same time to answer each question. Each candidate segment should last 10 minutes. With that as background, let's get started. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Ramon, take 1 minute to tell us why you should be the next governor of Delaware.
I've lived in Delaware my entire life. I just truly believe Delaware deserves choices. Unfortunately, for the last 32 years, the candidate selection opportunities across our state have been very much limited to one party. Some very good choices in one party. As we came closer and closer to this election, realizing there were not really choices on both sides, my family and I thought it was time for me to step up and see if we could do a little bit more for our state and run for governor, give Delaware another choice for a viable Republican candidate on the ticket.
Very good, thank you. First question, let's start out with an economic development question. If elected, do you envision a partnership with the business community to grow or recruit businesses here? You have 30 seconds.
I absolutely believe the only way Delaware becomes viable is expanding our ability and access of people to come into our state, start companies, and be successful. I'm 20 years old. That was the world I started in. Leonard Quill, president of Wilmington Trust right next door, walked up into his office as a young kid and got a loan for $8,000, opened up the first Ramon's flower shop, and was able to continue to grow. Today we have multiple companies, about 200 employees across the entire state, and quite frankly, until Delaware finds a way to be more user-friendly and get out of the bottom of the most business-friendly state, we will not be successful.
Second question. Next question is about our workforce. There's been significant attention directed towards workforce readiness since the pandemic. DFAC shows a tightening of revenue, and ARPA money is now committed. How do you plan to expand Delaware's future workforce and secure workers for those businesses Delaware is attracting to our state? You have 1 minute.
First thing we need to do is be a little more attractive to the people who do grow up in our state to stay in our state. Second is we need to immediately reconfigure the way we do education. We can't keep putting Band-Aids on a patient that's pretty much septic. We got to rip off the Band-Aids and start over. Third, I think there needs to be a very fast, quicker way to develop a path towards opening businesses, running businesses, and staying successful in businesses. Keep it simple, stupid. We should be using the technology we have available to us to expedite the ability for businesses to get into business, stay in business, and enhance the ability of our local people in our state to stay here, live here, and grow their families here.
The next question. The General Assembly just passed a bill to create a budget control board to oversee our hospital systems. Did you support or oppose this bill? Take 30 seconds, please.
I vehemently oppose the bill. I do not think we need overzealous regulations over top of nonprofit hospitals telling them what to do and how to do it. What I think we need to do, if people have a feeling that there's problems within our hospital system, maybe we need to sit down with the hospital system and those in the business community around it and see what we can do to avert those issues. When you're forced to take people into the most expensive form of care in hospitals, in emergency rooms, and service them, regardless of whether they have ability to pay, there needs to be a way that that trickles out. You've got to be able to pay the bills. Until we recognize there are problems that we need to solve, we can't start putting regulations on top of our nonprofits.
Let me follow up. What industry, if any, do you believe should be similarly regulated next? You have 30 seconds.
That's easy. None. I think it was very interesting. One of my colleagues in the House came to me now that I'm in leadership, and he had suggested, let's do the same thing to the state of Delaware that we're doing to the nonprofits and have this basis. We actually looked at the numbers. We're like 30%, 60%, 40% over. It made Christiana Hospital and other hospitals look like they were doing wonderful jobs. If we're going to make sure we start regulating people, let's make sure we're doing it well in our own government first with the taxpayers' money.
The manufacturing sector is growing in the U.S. and Delaware. To successfully embrace more of these heavy industry jobs, our environmental permitting process must be efficient. Do you think the DENREC environmental permitting process moves too fast, about right, or too slow? And what, if anything, would you change? You have 1 minute.
Jumping to a different level, I would absolutely reconfigure the way DENREC functions today and enhance the thought of functioning in the most environmentally friendly way, but still not impeding the ability of business to grow. It's very simple. I use the analogy about oil. So the United States stopped pumping oil, and guess what? We were pumping it more efficiently than anywhere else in the world. So now that we're not pumping it, other places in the world are pumping it in a very non-environmentally friendly way. The environment is our planet. It's not just a little piece. We need to look at a global planet. If we do things well here, we should be able to do it more frequently and more efficiently for businesses so that it isn't done somewhere else in a more toxic environment.
Next question. Paid family leave and sick and safety leave are two issues that have been considered by the General Assembly. Small businesses are typically the target of these proposals. Yet, they've always managed to provide leave for their staff when personal issues arise. At a time of employee shortages and in the absence of evidence demonstrating real workforce complaints, if you were governor, would you sign proposals like this into law? Take 1 minute, please.
I think I am small business. I'm the guy who's in there who started at 21. I'm the person who has many small business employees. I've been in this state my entire life, opening small businesses. I know how these bills affect small business. Unfortunately, in the House of Representatives, I've now been able to raise to a point of leadership in our caucus. But the problem when there's such a disbalance in the executive branch and the legislative branch with party representation, one party gets to the point where they're basically trying to regulate what I would say is unintended consequences. We can't really create an initiative. We only try to stop damages. Family leave came in front of us. We had stated many problems that we were concerned with through the school systems, with teachers. All of them have been realized. There is no way we can force feed these types of regulations into the small business world and continue to have businesses thrive. It's probably the reason, one of the many reasons of why we're now ranked in the bottom 5 states, if not third from the bottom, in business friendliness.
Question 6, tax policy. Tax policy can incentivize investment or dampen investment interest. What, if any, business taxes would you cut, and what business taxes would you raise? Take 1 minute.
The first thing I'd probably do is look at the temporary taxes that we digested, like the temporary increase in the real estate transfer tax, or the temporary gross receipts tax, or many of the other temporary taxes that have been here forever, and make them temporary. The second I would do is immediately try to find a way to inspire what I call churning of dollars. If you tax $1, it is what you tax it. If you tax $1 at a lower rate, but it gets used more frequently, that's what I would like to see us do. Most people don't realize the biggest tax increase that's happened in the last few years is the fact that the government has printed so much money. We have runaway inflation. Some will say it's not until they go try to buy their groceries for their family. And when you have that, there's only one organization that actually makes money, and that's the government. Businesses have to raise their prices because their products are more. The government simply gets more taxes from everyone. The gross receipts tax they receive is higher. The personal income tax, our personal income tax, income to our state has increased every single year. We have billions of dollars over the last 4 years of extraordinary income. We need to give the tax money back to the people.
This last question is optional, okay?
I love options.
And the question is about state programs, not business. You want to give it a try?
Got it.
Okay. Campaigns are frequently about suggesting new ideas and programs to solve problems. Let's go in a different direction. Name one existing state program you would substantially change or eliminate altogether. You have 30 seconds.
Well, the first thing I would eliminate altogether is force feeding everyone to buy EV cars. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, but I don't believe that's actually a program. I would spend the large majority of my first days in legislative or in the governor's office reconfiguring the way we do education. The entire top to bottom, 19 districts, Secretary of Education, Department of Education, everybody's telling everybody what to do up here, and we've got no money getting down to the classrooms for the children. Particular programs within each, I'm not here to redo programs. I'm here to help facilitate an environment where problems don't come up.
Thank you very much. Everybody, please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Ramon.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware. We are digital platform innovators. And we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Delaware offers abundant opportunities for emerging talent to launch their careers. But do they also know how it's a perfect place to live, work, and play? And that's why Intern Delaware was created, to keep talent in the first state. This 2-month add-on program provides your summer interns with access to events and networking opportunities designed to help them understand the unique aspects of the first state. Help us shape the future of Delaware's workforce today.
And we're back. I'm joined here with Matt Meyer. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Take 1 minute. Tell us why you should be the next governor of Delaware.
Great. It's good afternoon for me, Mike, when you have a 4-month-old at home at 8 in the morning. It's great to be here. I'm running for governor to deliver more effective government to the people of Delaware. Right now, we live in a time where our education system in this state, our public education system, is rated just about the worst in the country. Affordability and accessibility are not a real thing for most Delawareans in housing and in healthcare. We have issues with respect to the cost of living, complaints about the price of things at the supermarket, and challenges getting quality jobs. I'm a Delawarean, grew up here, spent a year as a diplomat in Iraq 14 years ago, came home to teach public schools, 6th and 7th grade math, thought I found my calling, found that elected officials weren't doing enough to address the real problems that Delawareans were facing. I ran for county executive. We have a historic record of accomplishment in my 8 years. First county executive reelected since Chris Coons. We want to deliver more effective government to the people of Delaware. Real progress for real people. We've raised more money and had more volunteer signups than anyone running for governor in the past 16 years. We're excited about this discussion today and talking about how to move Delaware forward.
Let's start with our first question. Let's start with an economic development question. If elected, do you envision a partnership with the business community to grow or recruit businesses here? You have 30 seconds.
Well, when I came into office in county government, our county government was known for a land use process that continually prevented the creation of jobs. We created a program called Jobs Now in collaboration with the business community that now has created at least 13,000 real jobs for Delaware. And the land use process is not perfect, but absolutely we intend to do the same and do it at a much broader scale when we're running state government.
The next question is about our workforce. There has been significant attention directed towards workforce readiness since the pandemic. DFAC shows a tightening of revenue and ARPA money is now committed. How do you plan to expand Delaware's future workforce and secure workers for those businesses Delaware is attracting to our state? You have 1 minute.
1 minute, that's a lot of time. Thanks. Listen, workforce is among the most important things we see. When employers come to talk to me about what they're looking for when they're comparing states, workforce is number 1 or number 2 on the list. The first is we must fix our public education system. When we have 17 schools that are in the single digits in proficiency, we cannot have a quality workforce. In addition, we need to look at adult workforce training programs that are often nested within a bureaucracy in the Department of Labor that does not produce the outcomes and results that we need as Delawareans. The world is changing quickly. Technology is changing quickly. It's a threat to who we are and our prosperity, but it's also a tremendous opportunity. We're going to look forward, not backwards, to make sure that Delaware is the first state in prosperity going forward.
The General Assembly just passed a bill to create a budget control board to oversee our hospital systems. Did you support or oppose this bill? Take 30 seconds, please.
I believe we need more competition in the healthcare space. My wife is an emergency room physician. She does shifts every single week in Christiana Care, and one of it's for emergency rooms. I hear every day of the horrors of outcomes, affordability, accessibility that Delawareans have, not just here in Newcastle County, but across our state. We need to look at how we fuel competition throughout our state to make sure that the outcomes are improved. As Lending Tree says, when banks compete, the people win. When I believe hospitals and healthcare providers compete, we all win.
Let me follow up. What industry, if any, do you believe should be similarly regulated next? You have 30 seconds.
Similarly regulated with a board that evaluates budgets, I'm not looking in that direction.
Okay. Next question. The manufacturing sector is growing in the U.S. and Delaware. To successfully embrace more of these heavy industry jobs, our environmental permitting process must be efficient. Do you think the DENREC environmental permitting process moves too fast, about right, or too slow? And what, if anything, would you change? You have 1 minute.
I think the multi-agency nature of approvals that I've seen running county government is unacceptable for a small state like Delaware. If you go to Philadelphia, which has 1.6 million people, there's a single government that you work with to get things approved. We need to make sure here in Delaware, the state authorities are working hand in glove with the local authorities so that DENREC, Newcastle County Land Use, Dover, L&I, Wilmington, Municipal, they're working hand in glove so that approvals can be delivered quickly. We're gonna have an outcomes-driven government. There are some permits that are important to protect the health and safety of Delawareans. We're gonna prioritize those. In cases where it's basic efficiency and delivering quick government, we're gonna work to deliver digital government like Delawareans have never seen before.
Paid family leave and sick and safety leave are two issues that have been considered by the General Assembly. Small businesses are typically the target of these proposals, yet they've always managed to provide leave for their staff when personal issues arise. At a time of employee shortages and in the absence of evidence demonstrating real workforce complaints, if you were governor, would you sign proposals like this into law? You have 1 minute.
Well, I think I'm going to be the first governor in a long time who's actually started a business. I've started two. We've been real cautious in Newcastle County to make sure we're protecting small business. As I travel this state, one thing I hear repeatedly is that government officials and government policies rarely are protecting and helping to grow the small businesses that we have. So insofar as we need to provide additional regulation, we're going to look for opportunities to exempt small businesses. Small business is the lifeblood of our economy. The majority of Delawareans who get up and go to work for private employers every day work for small businesses. We need to make sure not only that we're not inhibiting their growth, but we are the #1 place to start and grow a small business, whether that means additional access to low-cost financing, access to customers, or whatever it takes to help a small business to add employees. We should be doing that in government.
Tax policy can incentivize investment or dampen investment interest. What, if any, business taxes would you cut, and what business taxes would you raise? You have 1 minute.
Well, I stand before you as the only county executive ever to reduce property taxes in the county. We did so not irresponsibly, but while increasing reserve levels of county government by over $100 million. We're going to look to run a similarly responsible state government where we target reductions in taxes for certain groups of people to incentivize business growth and incentivize opportunity for all Delawareans. Now, there's no denying the math that right now the state government budget is under threat like never before. You have something like 1/3 of the state budget goes to healthcare costs, right? That's going to take a hard look at revenues. We're going to take a look, but when we do, we're going to do so not to inhibit business growth, but to enable business growth.
This last question is optional, and it's about state government and state programs, not business. Do you want to give it a try?
Can I hear a question before I decide?
Nope.
Sure.
All right. Campaigns are frequently about suggesting new ideas and programs to solve problems. Let's go in a different direction. Name one existing state program you would substantially change or eliminate altogether. You have 30 seconds.
Do you count when I'm thinking? I mean, workforce development is something that's high on my mind, that it needs to be transformed. I think, quite frankly, the Workforce Development Board is too large. It needs to be scaled down. I think the way in which we engage with healthcare and our healthcare partners needs to change. I think there are opportunities to access federal funding in healthcare that could potentially reduce our expenditure of healthcare at the state level. And one other thing, since you just asked for one, and I'm giving you three in an optional question, but I think there are too many levels of education. As a former teacher, I felt like too much money was going to the Secretary of Education, to the highest levels, to administrators. We need to push that money down to the classrooms.
Thank you. Please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Meyer. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware. We are digital platform innovators. And we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Delaware offers abundant opportunities for emerging talent to launch their careers. But do they also know how it's a perfect place to live, work, and play? And that's why Intern Delaware was created, to keep talent in the first state. This 2-month add-on program provides your summer interns with access to events and networking opportunities designed to help them understand the unique aspects of the first state. Help us shape the future of Delaware's workforce today.
Welcome back to the Delaware Decides Gubernatorial Candidate Forum. Joining us on stage now is Colin O'Mara. Take 1 minute to tell us why you should be the next governor of Delaware.
Great. Thanks, Mike, and thank you everybody for being here today. I think right now, at a time where we've had the longest stretch of Democratic control of any state in the country, we need to be doing a lot better. Right now, our economy's unemployment rate is about the 15th highest in the country. Our labor force participation is about the 10th worst in the country. We have so many opportunities across our state government to make sure we have an economy that works for absolutely everyone. That starts with workforce development and our infrastructure, but it also makes sure we're investing in innovation in the jobs of the future. It means actually improving our schools and investing in our public schools so the most vulnerable students actually have a chance. It means reducing the cost of living. We have some of the highest costs of healthcare and housing and childcare in the entire country, and we can absolutely do better. And so I'm running for a pretty simple reason. I think we need a much more energetic, a much more engaged, a much more productive, and much more effective state government. I think we've kind of lost our way the last few years, and we need an absolute change. And we're going to make our state the first state, not just on our license plate, not just for something in the 17th century, but for something in the 21st century.
Let's start out with an economic development question. If elected, do you envision a partnership with the business community to grow or recruit businesses here? You have 30 seconds.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I was proud of, when I came in under Governor Markell in 2009, the economy was really at its lowest point, right? We had just lost the 2 auto plants, we lost the refinery shut down at that time, and we were in a position where we needed to figure out how to fill that massive hole. Manufacturing jobs had gone from 47,000 jobs down to 21,000 jobs at that time, and so the partnership was incredibly important. And I've been proud of some of the progress that has been made around site selection. I think one of the places we could work better is actually getting sites ready for development. It's great to be able to go onto the website and see that you can have the old Comcast facility on Commerce Boulevard or have the Pack and Play facility. Oh, that's a stop. Wow.
Yep. Got to move on to the next one.
I talk quick, and this is incredibly quick. Okay, good. Okay, I'll get ready for it.
Second question. Next question is about our workforce. There's been significant attention directed towards workforce readiness since the pandemic. DFAC shows a tightening of revenue, and ARPA money is now committed. How do you plan to expand Delaware's future workforce and secure workers for those businesses Delaware is attracting to our state? You have 1 minute.
So right now, we have about 30,000 jobs that are unfilled in the state and about 20,000 folks that are unemployed. So there's clearly a massive mismatch. I've been really impressed by the progress of the Workforce Investment Board the last few years, but very frustrated that it's not connected to the Department of Labor in any major way. I thought the investment agenda by the Business Roundtable laid out the case perfectly. What we should be doing is elevating the Workforce Investment Board into the governor's office, reforming the entire Department of Labor, making sure that the folks that are unemployed right now are moving into the workforce. I'm incredibly concerned that we have one of the lowest labor force participation rates in the entire country. if there are pathways to put people into these jobs, it's one of the best ways to grow our economy, to have the kind of revenues that we need. Now, in addition to the workforce training piece that I think is absolutely essential, there are other pieces we need. A lot of folks aren't in the workforce, about 13%, because they can't afford childcare. And in many cases, can't afford housing and healthcare. If we get at those costs as well, we'll have more people in the workforce and be able to grow our way out of the coming downturn and not actually have to just raise revenue to meet our needs.
Next question. The General Assembly just passed a bill to create a budget control board to oversee our hospital systems. Did you support or oppose this bill? Take 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, look, our healthcare costs are the 4th highest in the country right now. And I think transparency is a good thing, but the solution is not the end all and be all at all. We've seen this kind of solution go very badly in states like Vermont and in some cases in Massachusetts. I want more competition. We've allowed a system over the last several years to basically have Christiana consolidate across the entire region. They're basically an unregulated monopoly right now. I want more competition. I want to make sure that companies can come into our state, that they can provide services, that we eliminate the certificate of need, and that we actually have more competition, more transparency, which will lower prices.
Let me follow up if I can. What industry, if any, do you believe should be similarly regulated next? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah. I actually don't think others. I think regulated monopoly, unregulated monopolies, things like the water utilities like Artesian and Tidewater, the electric companies like Delmarva that have kind of service territory that is a kind of an unregulated monopoly does involve some level of government intervention. But I think things like there's no other sector in our economy that has less competition right now than our healthcare sector. And so I don't see another sector that requires the same kind of regulation.
The manufacturing sector is growing in the U.S. and Delaware. To successfully embrace more of these heavy industry jobs, our environmental permitting process must be efficient. Do you think the DNREC environmental permitting process moves too fast, about right, or too slow? And what, if anything, would you change? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, one of the things I was proud of when I was working with Governor Markell is we were able to expedite things like brownfield permits, some of the stormwater permits, some of the Clean Air Act permits, some of the Clean Water Act permits. Almost all that efficiency is gone now. And that's my fault for not being able to institutionalize more of that into the body. It is a disgrace that it takes 18 to 24 months for projects to get delivered in Delaware compared to 6 months in many other states that we're competing against. The Ready in 6 initiative, I think, is incredibly important, but we have to actually deliver. We passed bills in the General Assembly last year, and DelDOT and DNREC basically took them as options. The county has one of the least effective zoning processes in the entire country, and what we're seeing over and over again is projects that are taking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, even 9 years to get to the county land use process. This has to be a top priority for the next governor, because if we can't say we have such a great advantage of being a small state and then have these massive delays when we're competing against projects going to Ohio or Pennsylvania or Virginia or other states that are moving really quickly. We have to do better. And our small size, we should be doing better.
Paid family leave and sick and safety leave are two issues that have been considered by the General Assembly. Small businesses are typically the target of these proposals, yet they have always managed to provide leave for their staff when personal issues arise. At a time of employee shortages and in the absence of evidence demonstrating real workforce complaints, if you were governor, would you sign proposals like this into law? You have 1 minute.
I do think making sure that we're taking care of our workers is incredibly important. And I was proud that the chamber kind of found a compromise that worked for paid family leave. I do think that we still have a big proportion of the population that doesn't have paid sick leave right now. And I really don't want somebody in the food service industry, if they're really sick, coming to work because they can't get that time off or they can't switch their shift with someone else. So I would like to work with the business community. I think we should have sick leave for all workers across Delaware. All of us as executives have that privilege. A lot of folks in the very bottom part of the economy don't. And it's something I like to work on together to make sure that no one is going to work sick. Because we know that retention goes up. We know that illness, kind of long-term illness, goes down if folks can recover. We got to make sure there's no abuses to the system. But I actually think this is an area that, like 18 other states that have done it, we can actually make progress in a way that doesn't affect the business community, but actually has a healthier workforce as a result.
Tax policy can incentivize investment or dampen investment interest. What, if any, business taxes would you cut? And what business taxes would you raise? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, right now, I think overall, our revenues have grown from $4 billion to $6 billion, and a lot of that's been eaten up by healthcare. I don't anticipate significant additional taxes on the business side over the next few years. I do think there's conversations we need to have around the realty transfer tax. I think there are some things we're doing that are disincentivizing the production of affordable housing. I think there's different places where we have certain tax loopholes that distort the marketplace in different ways, especially some of the insurance markets. Some folks have tax exemptions, some folks don't. But overall, I think right now this is a time for our competitiveness to come from our speed and not trying to manipulate rates a lot.
So this last question is optional. And the question is about state programs, not business. You want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay. Campaigns are frequently about suggesting new ideas and programs to solve problems. Let's go in a different direction. Name one existing state program you would substantially change or eliminate altogether. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think one of my, so there are, it's easier obviously to make promises than it is to make cuts. I think the explosion of the administrative state around education has been a huge drain on the state. Right now, we have less money making it into the classroom than almost any other state in the country. We just have layer and layer of bureaucracy, whether that's the 19 school districts, the Department of Education that's moved from $0 basically 25 years ago to $45, $50 million today. I think there's a lot of places where we could cut a lot of programs that aren't having the impacts that we desire and move that money back into the classroom so it's helping our students.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking Colin O'Mara.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware. We are digital platform innovators. And we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Delaware offers abundant opportunities for emerging talent to launch their careers. But do they also know how it's a perfect place to live, work, and play? And that's why Intern Delaware was created, to keep talent in the first state. This 2-month add-on program provides your summer interns with access to events and networking opportunities designed to help them understand the unique aspects of the first state. Help us shape the future of Delaware's workforce today.
Welcome back, everyone. Bethany Hall Long has joined us. Good morning. Please take 1 minute to tell us why you should be the next governor of Delaware.
Well, it's great to be here, running for governor with a bold and innovative plan to really work with the chamber to make our state the best place to live, work, and raise a family. And being super competitive, want to make sure that having worked with you as a senator and a rep, and now in this new role, that we bring families here. We have to have a competitive workforce. We have to make sure they have the houses they can afford, that they have the childcare that's necessary. Speaking of childcare, birth to 5, huge plan of mine, not only addresses education that the chamber is interested in, but also workforce. And early education will absolutely make that difference for our families, birth to 5. Also, education has to be reformed, and in turn, healthcare, big issue. As a career nurse and educator, we have to make sure we have those plans in place. And being endorsed by many of your colleagues that you work with in the House, the Senate, our governor, and also the Delaware State Education Association, the AFL-CIO, I am ready to partner with you to make those changes to really make Delaware the best place for our families to work and live and be raised with the business community.
Let's start with our first question, and it's an economic development question. If elected, do you envision a partnership with the business community to grow or recruit businesses here? You have 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Workforce development has to happen. You know, I've been doing this with you for years, leading the National Lieutenant Governors, which is nonpartisan. I want to compete with Jersey and PA with you. We got to have the resources. They got to be sustainable, whether it's Ready in 6 projects, but moving that on, we have to make sure we have innovation. Nimble, I serve on, I vote on that body. We have to make sure that we're bringing in STEM, we're bringing in manufacturing, because without it, folks, we're going to slip behind. And having that leadership skill set, knowing how to move us forward, I am absolutely committed to make sure that we get the businesses here, and I work with you.
Next question is about our workforce. There's been significant attention directed towards workforce readiness since the pandemic. DFAC shows a tightening of revenue, and ARPA money is now committed. How do you plan to expand Delaware's future workforce and secure workers for those businesses Delaware is attracting to our state? You have 1 minute.
Listen, I've been the one in this arena that's been through 6 recessions with you and 6 budget crises, 2 major national recessions. We have to make sure that we not only have the plans that you all put in place, the ready to 6, the shovel to ready. That's not enough. We have to make sure we have the committed resources, and we have to make sure that with our workforce, we bring in competitiveness. I see what the other states are doing. We got to have tax incentives for young adults to stay here, loan and mortgage assistance for housing. You have to have that birth to 5. 80% of workers haven't taken a job or bought a house because they couldn't afford the early education or the child care. It matters. Working with the business community, we have to make sure we have the Delaware investment agenda in place. And being the leader with STEM in this state, we have to have STEM, manufacturing, nimble, all matters. Do I have more time?
You do. Well, 10 seconds.
Oh, wow. And I feel like we're speed dating today, but that's
not
okay.
it.
Speed offer, speed fast. God, you're making me talk as fast as Colin.
The General Assembly just passed a bill to create a budget control board to oversee our hospital systems.
Yes.
Did you support or oppose this bill? Take 30 seconds, please.
Well, with hospitals, let's face it, folks, I'm the one person that's in this race with a healthcare policy background with 40 years of experience. You cannot make change in our health system with hospitals. It has to just be also insurance industry. You have to address pharmaceuticals. As an ex-governor, as that bill transitions, I'm the person you want at the table. I understand what the boards need for corporate change. I understand their concerns, and I will make sure that we have the best system in place. I've been working for workforce development. We have to have the doctors, the nurses in our state, and we have to make sure we work together.
Let me follow up. What industry, if any, do you believe should be similarly regulated next? You have 30 seconds.
Well, you know what? That question is one in which has been pondered through the 20 years that I've been in the state system. You know, regs can be a good thing and they can be bad. I will tell you, as your next governor, I will collaborate with you. You won't get surprises. I can tell you that you have to make sure that we're not having unintended consequences, and that you have to make sure that you're one who collaborates. Regulations can stink. Regulations can help. We've had a lot that have been put in place that have hindered business. We have to make sure, whether it's DELDOT, DNREC, in me, you're going to get a culture of excellence from state government, from our state agencies.
The manufacturing sector is growing in the U.S. and Delaware. To successfully embrace more of these heavy industry jobs, our environmental permitting process must be efficient. Do you think the DNREC environmental permitting process moves too fast, about right, or too slow? And what, if anything, would you change? You have 1 minute.
Wow. Environment matters, environmental policy, critical as a public health nurse. You got to have good environment, right? You guys fight for cancer, good air, clean water, etc. Folks, it's too slow. We have to have a culture of excellence. There's too many roadblocks. When I took over the behavioral health system in this state, we had to get rid of duplication, gaps, slow processes. The Department of Natural Resources is one of the areas I hear the biggest complaints from those of you who are sitting here today. We have to make sure that there is responsiveness, and we have to make sure that you have a governor who understands that and who will continue to work with you to protect our environment while making sure businesses turn dirt and bring new people and employees to this state.
Paid family leave and sick and safety leave are two issues that have been considered by the General Assembly. Small businesses are typically the target of these proposals, yet they have always managed to provide leave for their staff when personal issues arise. At a time of employee shortages and in the absence of evidence demonstrating real workforce complaints, if you were governor, would you sign proposals like this into law?
Well, you know,
1 minute.
Okay. What's really important is that your workforce have it in its hands, the resources. And I applaud most of you in here because you do offer good benefits. People, when they're having a crisis, need to have the support, or when they're having a child in birth. And I'm a military wife, the one person in this race who's been through that experience when they get the call in the middle of the night. There is a place for those policies, but I will be a governor who sits with you. There won't be any surprises. You will know in advance. And I know when Senator McBride was working on that bill, I really encouraged her. Meet with businesses, talk to them, make sure the small businesses who cannot do these policies are not impacted. We have to grow. We have to be innovators and entrepreneurs in this state, so we can't put policies in place that are not effective.
Tax policy can incentivize investment or dampen investment interest. What, if any, business taxes would you cut, and what business taxes would you raise? You have 1 minute.
Well, let me tell you, revenue generators are really important. Let me say this straight up to you. If we can compete and we have workers in this state, businesses aren't going to have changes in their taxation formulas, right? Because if they're living here, working here, spending money, going to our restaurants, you have to have that. Again, I've been the lone person in this race that's had to live through 2 national recessions, 6 budget crises. We have to make sure we have good common policies in place when it comes to our taxes and our revenue generators. I will tell you, I'm the lone person too that didn't stand recently with TransPerfect because I believe in our corporate franchise tax has to continue. And if that's strong, it's $2 billion over budget, that helps our local economy and our local businesses.
The last question is optional, and the question is about state programs, not business. Give it a try. It's
Sure.
optional. Okay.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm on a game show.
Okay.
Okay, what do I get behind that curtain? Okay.
Campaigns are frequently about suggesting new ideas and programs to solve problems. Let's go in a different direction. Name one existing state program you would substantially change or eliminate altogether. You have 30 seconds.
Something that's going to affect you all is workforce, right? And something I've been in the arena, and I made a commitment as lieutenant governor, and I make it a commitment as a nurse, you know, wanting to be the second governor, female governor, first nurse governor. I stand by my word. I took over, the pardons process, commutation process wasn't good. There are a lot of good workers for the reentry in this state. I'm going to be working really hard around justice reform. Reform Alliance was recently here with me, and a number of the business community here. We have to do better for all people in our state. That is a system that needs reforming, and that ties into our healthcare system. So healthcare, corrections, they tie together nicely and affects your workforce.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and join me in thanking Bethany Hall Long.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for our Delaware Decides Candidate Forum, brought to you by the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce in partnership with DETV. I want to extend our thanks to the 4 gubernatorial candidates who joined us today, and to have a candid discussion focused on priorities for Delaware's employers and employees. It's important to remember that progress begins with awareness. Joining the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce is a great first step to staying informed. When you align your company with our organization, you not only connect your company's brand with the mission of improving the first state, but you become part of creating a better tomorrow. Learn more by visiting www.dscc.com. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, don't forget to cast your vote this September 10th and November 5th. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.